I can't see content.
Oh, we're live.
There we go. We're good. Hey there, everybody. My name is Aaron, and welcome back to the podcast number 27.
It's been a while, man.
Yeah.
It's been a while. Hell, we haven't talked in a long time.
Holy cow. What's it been, a month? At least.
A little over a month, yeah. Since
it's been a month since we've had an episode. We haven't talked really for the last few weeks anyway.
Yeah.
We went full anti-social. Our season hit hard.
Yeah, dog days of summer for sure.
Oh boy.
Oh yeah,
right.
boys. Oh yeah. Okay, so let's get started with the topics. So we have a few handful of topics to look at then. I guess let's start on some drama, if you guys are okay with that. So everybody loves drama, and there's two drama bits that have happened, both relatively related to each other. There was the comments from Clefbaum that came in saying that Hall never showed up for the big games, and it's actually a good thing and whatnot that he's been traded. And then there's also the comments from, I believe it was Scrivens, right? What was it again? Oh, right. That whatever Clefbaum said was right, and that's the truth, and all that kind of stuff. What are your guys' opinions? I guess I'll go to James, and then in the meantime, you know what? It's been a while since I've done this. I apologize. Hi everyone, my name is Arunatic5, otherwise known as Arun. I have with me
James.
We're going James first?
James Paul McCartney .
And I'm Adam, known as 3444722. It's been so long we can't intro a video properly.
I know, brutal.
It feels like the first time.
Okay. So I'm going
to answer the question.
Yeah, I'm going to throw that to James, and Adam, in the meantime, can you pull up those quotes so we know exactly what was said?
I can certainly try.
Okay.
First and foremost, I think Scrivens needs to stop acting like a scorned ex-girlfriend. Didn't work out here, man, so move on. Get over it. I'm not sure why we care what Scrivens says. As far as what Clefbaum says, I mean, yeah, he probably did go too far with what he said and realized that he needed to clarify it. I think he probably told the truth and backpedaled. There may have been a translation issue.
I think there's a major translation issue.
We're never going to know. But I kind of like the straight answer with it. I don't agree with it, but I mean, at least it gave us something to talk about. I mean, the whole team never showed up. Clefbaum didn't play for most of the season, so he gets to avoid most criticism.
Yeah.
Which, whatever. I don't know.
So,
what do you think?
So for the comments, I pulled up an Edmonton Journal article, and it said, Clefbaum, and I'm paraphrasing because it is a paragraph here, Hall never played his best games against the tough teams. It should be said that Oscar also told me Hall had their best player for the last 5 years. He also said Hall was great against weaker teams and that he didn't play his best against tougher teams. But what he clarified is all of our key players underperformed, including myself, not just Taylor Hall.
Right.
Whereas Scrivens said, talking in reference to Clefbaum's comments on the situation, he said he would know pretty well. He played with him for a long time, and I can't say he's wrong. So it's kind of harsh. And if you look at it, I mean, I don't know if you can. I mean, you can probably agree, but did they ever really play big games while they were here? Not really. I mean, you can count the big games of the first 20 games of the season, but Clefbaum's latter comments are more accurate than his first ones, where nobody played well. You can look at games from this past season where the defense wasn't quite stepping up to the game they should have been playing. Talbot fell off a cliff to start the season. Scoring was on a drought for Nuge scored the first goal of the season, and it wasn't even him that scored it. We didn't score 4 games. It was we went goalless in the first 4 games or something like that. And then the year before, it was Scrivens was awful. Eakins didn't know what the hell he was doing behind the bench. fucking who was the backup that year? I can't even remember anymore.
Victor Foss.
Thank
Exactly.
you. Victor Foss was awful as well.
Which I should add is hilarious considering that it should have been seen coming, especially with the lack of games that he's played.
Honestly, like it's just one of those things where the comments aren't totally inaccurate in the sense that they fit into the grand scheme of things of the team never really played well in the last few years. So
yes.
In that sense, they're accurate, but you know, it does seem like, because I get this perception of Klefbom as being this quiet, reserved guy who is in ridiculously good shape, plays good hockey, and then he comes up with this comment, and you're like, where the hell did that come from? Like,
yep.
And it does throw doubts in your mind, but I don't want to play off them because I know that it's just a lot of BS being talked about the guy since he's been gone. And actually, I want to bring something up after your comments, Arun.
Yep.
Go ahead and talk about this one. I'll go back to it.
Okay. So one thing that I will sort of agree with throughout all this conversation is that I am not wrong. I don't think it's wrong in considering that there was sort of like a clique within the Oilers where certain players were all grouped together and some players were not included in that group. But that being said, I think a big part that has to do with that whole dynamic and everything is like you have to look at the age of the players that are involved and the maturity that developed. For example, if you look at Taylor Hall, like when he came to the Oilers, like it's an 18-year-old teenager. Like I want you guys to look at yourselves when you were 18 and think about, and then imagine yourself as a really, I wouldn't say good-looking, athletic individual who's making lots of money, millions of dollars in his first year. And basically is in a town that's crazy about him going off and drinking. Like, imagine if the world was in your grasp and you were an 18-year-old kid. Like, how would you act, right? And in terms of the negative perception of Hall in the public, I think that's where it came from. It's basically a teenager that acted like an idiot. But the problem is that, like, out of that, like, the Taylor Hall that we saw in the last 2 seasons, I think was a dramatically very different individual. Like, one of the arguments was, what was it? Taylor Hall played better against the worst teams. But when you look at the statistics of the past season, he put up more points in less games against teams that made the playoffs. Like, in terms of played better, he performed better, simply put, against teams that actually did make the playoffs. So, in terms of, I guess it is more of a recent argument than anything else. But in that sense, like, I don't agree with the comments. I think it's a matter of perception. And in general, like, what do you expect? Do you expect your players to be playing better against better teams, or to be performing a little bit worse against the teams like, the Kings and the Ducks and so on? Teams that we don't win against often as a team to begin with. And throughout it all, I think one other thing that's being lost is, like, everyone's going, oh, Hall was bad. And you look at the rest of that lineup and you have to think to yourself, what the heck? Why did we even think about icing a lineup like that, right?
We should have demoted ourselves.
Oh, yeah. God. I mean, and that's the thing.
At least last season, I can understand the injuries, but oh my goodness. Like, the season before that and before that.
Top 2 centers were Gagne and fucking Lander.
Arcabello.
Arcabello was 3C. Hey, come on now.
Yeah,
3C.
No, the funny thing about that one was that I remember people being so excited for Arcabello to be starting off that season. And the entire time I was going, he's played only half a season. Why are we putting so much trust into him?
Well, it's the same thing we did with Lander this past year.
Oh,
he had a great season with Nelson. He had a great preseason. He scored a hat trick. Oh, wait.
One thing that I will absolutely place on the Lander situation is that big part about why Anton Lander, and on top of that as well, I think Kevin Miller or Andrew Miller. I don't remember the name. Do you guys remember? I think it's Andrew Miller.
Andrew Miller.
Yeah. The reason that those two worked that season was because of Taylor Hall playing on the left wing.
I can see that.
That has a huge reason to do with why Anton Lander had a good season. Mind you, like that wasn't the entire season for Lander, but a lot of the points did come in accompaniment with Hall, or at the very least when he was able to drive play.
And I'll give Nelson the credit that he's able to coach young players very well and coach players that may not have success under other coaches. So part of it. But so going back to what I was thinking of though, since the trade, there's been a gigantic split, a monumental split in the opinion on Hall. And do you guys think in general is he now being overvalued or undervalued as a player? And it's hard. I think it's hard to overvalue Hall because he's one of the best 3 left wingers on the planet. He's maybe best 5 depending on your opinion. But
in 5-on-5 play, he's the top 3.
Yeah, and that's the thing. So is it? Do you think it was such a diverse reaction and such a vulgar reaction to the trade just because of how seemingly unfair and how shocking the trade was, or is this kind of a reaction to Oilers fans saying, "Good, this has changed," and rejecting him out of necessity, kind of thing, moving on?
James, did you want to start with that one, or did you want to end that one?
You can go first with this one.
Okay. Okay, so here's the thing. I am of the opinion that fans were so wanting change that at this point, like, a big reason to do with why there is a split like this right now is because there's no hockey right now. There's no real way to see how Hall is doing with the Oilers and how Larson, not the Oilers, sorry, the Devils, and how Larson is doing with us. And because of that, perceptions get slightly skewed, and then comments like Clefbaum's become more fact than fiction, and so on. And in that light, I think when the season starts and when things get going, I don't think it'll be much more of a divided issue as it has been this off season.
As in it'll be more towards the side that we got robbed, or the side that it's actually not a terrible trade because Larson is a good defenseman.
More towards it was a very uneven trade, but it was a trade that we needed to do for a position. So it'll be a trade. It'll be a perception of understanding, but still, god dang it. Does that make sense?
All right. Yeah. No, I got it. Yeah. James.
Yeah, I'm kind of the same way. I'm not even sure if I can answer this question without barely, because I'm a huge Hall fanboy.
Me too.
I friggin' love Hall. I just think that part of it is, it's the dog days of summer. I think people try and make it seem like they never really liked Hall all that much, and I feel like I've been hearing a lot of people that didn't hate Hall before suddenly hate on Hall now for like not even on ice stuff, like off ice behavior.
Yeah.
When he was 18 and like
when he was a teenager.
And this was like almost accepted because it was expected when he was that age. He's not that age anymore. He's not that person anymore.
Not even remotely.
Now it just seems like these character flaws from 5 or 6 years ago are being brought up again, and it's like, this is not what it's about. Like, I don't know. And
on top of that too, to like add to that, like people like Belanger were chiming in on like, oh, there was a clique and everything like that, but it was also a comment that was made. When did Belanger like play for the team? Right? Hall was 20, 19.
I try to forget the times that Belanger played for the team.
Yeah, I mean, but I don't really see a clique so much as, okay, how what are the average age of your friends around the same age as you? Like, you're not gonna have. Like, I get on a team.
For those of you, there's going to be people counteracting with, oh, what about this player? What about this player? What about this player? Like, the one comment that always comes to mind whenever I see Mr. Connor McDavid is, holy cow, I feel awkward watching him. And Hall is not like that. Hall is, like, outgoing. He's charismatic. He wears his emotions on his sleeve. Where McDavid will appear completely calm on the ice, Hall will appear not necessarily agitated, but very into the game emotionally, either on the bench, on the ice, and otherwise.
I think part of the McDavid thing is simply how much media training he's had, because Hall went through a lot of media training too, and it's unfair to say that they have different personalities, because they absolutely do.
Yeah, they do.
But Connor is, he's very much more reserved, which he stated before. He said in interviews with Bob McKenzie, with TSN, with Sportsnet, with CBC, anyone he's talked to, he's very reserved. But at the same time, I think the reason he's so boring in interviews is simply because part of it is he knows he has to be. Yep. Because if he makes a comment, Taylor Hall can have a brash personality because he's seen that way. Whereas Connor is seen as this cool, collected individual, supposed to be better than everybody else, so he's not supposed to react.
Yep.
So, but
yeah, he's probably been coached on this sort of stuff since he was like 14.
Literally since he was 13.
And then I guess the other thing that sort of can be... Oh, Adam, your comments.
I was going to say, do you think that part of the Hall Vissel reaction was due to the Subban-Weber trade immediately following the Hall trade? Like it kind of ramped up. It went from, well, we got this guy. What the fuck? Subban went for this.
Okay, so one thing that there's going to be, like, there's obviously an argument here where it's like, oh, no, it's not. But I think that did play a part. And the reason that I would pick that out and say, like, that may have played a part is when I looked at a former interview from Hall in the offseason. I can't pull this out immediately. I can't think of it off the top of my head about where I found this. I apologize. But during that interview, Hall did mention, Hall was asked, I think it was in the Journal, do you pay any attention to advanced stats? And the comments actually surprised me from him because Hall said yes, he does. And he pays attention to it, and he pays attention to his own stats in comparison to his teammates and in comparison to other people in the league.
Yeah, that was the end of season report.
Yeah, I do vaguely remember that.
Yeah, and then when something like that happens, and I get that, it stops being Hall like separated from what's going on in the rest of the world, or at least the hockey world, and becomes more of a, oh, Hall is this actual person that interacts with everything. So I think it played a part, but more subconscious than anything else, if I were to analyze it, let's say.
I think part of it for me that kind of threw me a little bit this year is something I didn't consider is that, when you think about Reddit and the internet, well, the internet, but, the subreddit in particular, subreddit's now, I think, Reddit is now the most popular hockey discussion forum on the internet.
Yeah,
it passed HF boards. It's arguable between the two, but it's a popular website. It's one of the top 20 biggest websites on the planet.
Yeah.
But, these guys, obviously it's hard to ignore the internet. So, we make comments on the subreddit, and I wonder if people see them or, and they don't pay attention necessarily. But it's interesting to consider the fact that what you write is being read by the person playing.
To add to that, there was this has nothing to do with hockey, but I was in the pre-med. There's a pre-medicine subreddit, and someone posted a comment saying that their med application accidentally got submitted, and they didn't want to do that. And there was we went and talked to the person, and it didn't work out. But someone from the organization that's responsible for handling all U.S. medical applications came in there, posted a comment, was it control, and then came away. And that's the only comment that they've made in that subreddit ever. And that's an account that they've had for a long time, too. So in that sense, I think we are not isolated in that regard. I think our subreddit is seen.
Yeah, I think it probably is, too. I remember Bob McKenzie he's posted on HF boards, so, I mean, they probably have shadow accounts.
Oh, yeah. I guarantee it.
Pen writers, or what do you call those, pen names?
Oh god, I'm immediately associating some commenters to certain players.
Oh god.
Anyway, last comment. Right. Sorry, James.
I'm actually writing Hopkins. I'm sorry, guys.
You'd be a boring poster. No, I have nothing else to say. We can move on.
Okay. Last one that's associated with this topic, because it is one of the hottest topics for an Oilers fan this summer, is Hall did say that he was not interested in coming back to the Oilers as a free agent. Is it surprising to you guys or no? Along with that, Hall did express his his interest in the Oilers making McDavid captain. But we'll talk about that one next. First, he did say that he's not interested in coming back to the Oilers. What are your thoughts?
That's
Adam,
not surprising.
or James?
No, we'll go James first.
That's not surprising. I mean, he himself said that he thought he had been a good soldier throughout the years, 99% of the time. Yeah, I would agree with that. He obviously never asked for a trade, sucked it up, put his head down, worked hard, and I think that he really developed well on the ice and as a person as well. And to just sort of it really feels like the team is on the cusp of improving. It really does. And to just be casted off at the cusp of that is a bitter pill to swallow. I wouldn't want to come back either. That's how I feel.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, part of it is, well, what the hell else are we supposed to do? No, I want to go back to the team that just traded me away despite being
he's not
on this other
say
team.
That. I mean, God, he's under contract for like 4 more years.
Yeah, and I mean, the other side of it is, okay, well, he's going to a team that's currently much better, that has a very good defensive group, outside of the fact that it just lost one of their best players, which is, it'll be interesting to see how it works out. They have one of the best goaltenders in the world right now.
Yes, I would completely agree with that.
And their forward core is significantly improved with him joining, and he'll also be a focal point of the organization once again. So it's kind of the thing where, you know, he's probably, like James mentioned, he thought of himself as a good soldier and did everything he was told to do for the last however many years, and he just put his nose to the grindstone and worked.
And then this past season, just adding to that, he went even a step beyond and tried being more of a leader and whatnot, and tried making it more of his responsibility to carry the team.
Yeah, he let McDavid live with him.
Yeah, and then being kind of, I don't want to say shoved off, because it's obvious that they did it to improve the team, and I'm sure he understands that, but it is kind of that thing where it's like, okay, well, I put blood, sweat, and tears into it, what do I get out of it?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And, I think if the team wins, he won't be upset, but he might be a bit disappointed they couldn't be part of it. Ultimately.
Yeah. Just adding to that, because I'm the one that introduced the topic here. Do you imagine, say if the Oilers started doing much better, it's a few years down the line, Hall's contract, say, runs out with the Devils, he decides not to return to the Devils. Do you see a possibility in him coming back, say, after a few of the wounds have healed and so
on? I think it depends on the team's cap situation, who's in charge, because I don't know if Taylor would accept, like, he's probably going to want to get paid.
Yes.
He signed a bargain deal. And with the Oilers having McDavid on for more than likely $9.7 million, if he's as superstitious as he sounds, which, if you've read stories about him, he is.
He probably is.
He absolutely is. Like, there was the piece from Bob McKenzie that I posted last year. And
Okay, just adding... Okay, never mind. I'm going off topic. Sorry, continue.
So, say we have McDavid, we have Leon, possibly, Nuge, possibly, Eberle, possibly, Puljujarvi, Larson, maybe Davidson, Clefbaum, maybe Yakupov, who the hell knows at this point, Talbot, Brossoit might be at that point. Like, we have all these players who could get large chunks of money, especially Mr. Puljujarvi and McDavid. And, of course, Leon, locked up, then we might not be able to afford Hall by that point. And whoever else we bring on at that point, because if we're doing well, we're going to be picking up other players. We may not, A, need him, and B, he's not going to come back because he doesn't want to get paid, and we won't be able to pay him.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's such a... The word's not pipe dream, but it's such a mirage. Like, it's something that doesn't even really matter right now. Down the line, I mean, McDavid's going to be getting 9.7. And like you said, Eberle will still be kicking around. Larson, maybe Nurse will round out into form. Who knows? Whether or not we're going to be able to afford an $8 million Taylor Hall, who knows? 8.5, 9 maybe, who knows? Probably not.
Who knows? Just going off of that as well, Hall also did state in his comments, I think it was the same interview actually, that he is rooting for McDavid to be captain of the team. And on that topic and that transition, I guess, Oilers captain has determined to be named during training camp. As in, a captain will be named. No more flopping around. No more, waiting around for leadership to be more developed and things like that. Is McDavid the foregone conclusion?
Yeah, I mean,
Yes.
who the hell else? I think the better question is who will end up with the 4 A's, which.
No, please not 4.
I mean, 3 or 4, right? Because mind you, it's better than 1 year old. We had like 11 assistant captains, literally 11 assistant captains when Eakins was there. So I think it'll be like, obviously McDavid's going to captain. That's just, he's the future of the team. It's going to be much in the same way that Gretzky owned the Northlands and Edmonton, and he has his own city and the Stanley Cups. Connor McDavid's going to own Edmonton. He's going to own Rogers Place. It's going to be his rink. The captaincy is going to be his until he doesn't want it anymore, which might be until he retire, ideally.
Like Whitemud Drive is going to be renamed McDavid Drive. Like I see it already.
I fucking hope so.
Yeah.
McDavid Way or some shit. I don't know, but
McDavid scores.
But it's his. Plain and simple. Like, you can't argue. Okay, Nuge. Well, yeah, he's been a good soldier too, but he's not necessarily the future of the team, and he's not going to be the best centerman on the team by the end of this year. Eberle, again, same story. Give him an assistant captain. Same thing with Nuge. Hendy, he's going to be here for another year. He's a veteran presence, but there's no reason to give him the captaincy for a year and then give it to McDavid. Just give the thing to McDavid and call it good.
No.
Like, just get it over with.
No.
Yeah, McDavid, captain. Then your associate captains are Nuge, Eberle, Hendricks, I guess, and someone on defense.
Yakupov.
Hard to know.
Defense.
That's
Those
the
things
joke.
don't mix.
That's the joke.
Oil and water.
That's the
Sekera,
joke.
maybe? I don't know.
Yeah, I could see Sekera.
Although
I would want Clefbaum, I want an assistant captain that's not going to be injured.
What about maybe Larson?
No, I don't see that already.
No.
Or Lucic. Actually, you know what? I probably they'll give him Lucic.
Yeah, Lucic. Yeah, how did I forget that?
Ooh, D. White puts forward an interesting topic. Would giving McDavid the Crawford or coach status, I guess, or captain status, I guess, make him the bigger target?
He's already a huge target.
I mean,
does it really zero in on him anymore?
I think one of the things that he had as a huge favor in the past season that is not going to be in his favor this season was that Hall could take a lot of defensive pressure, a lot of, dynamic, I don't know, like grinding pressure and all that kind of stuff away from McDavid's line. But McDavid is going to be at the freaking forefront for that now.
Yeah.
Like,
I think
absolutely at the forefront.
The thing worth remembering is that McDavid is probably the fastest player we've ever seen in NHL.
And he still got injured, though.
And he's still going to get bigger. Yeah, but he got injured because he got hauled down. And yeah, it's something to be concerned about. But I don't think being a captain makes him more of a target. I mean, Hall was always a target, especially when he got kneed by fucking garbage ass or whatever the fuck his name is.
Garbage
stuck out his knee and
okay,
Hall.
Okay. In that defense, though, Hall is not great with his knees either.
No, but Garbage clearly stuck to, like, Garbage was in the wrong on that one. But
yeah,
what I mean is that Hall didn't have a captain saying he was a target. Ferentz had his captaincy and he was useless.
He was useless. Yeah.
Like it's one of those things
it's
where
nice when a captain isn't playing on your third pair.
Has he been bought out yet, or what are they doing?
No. So the issue, as a side note, the issue with the initial buyout period was that he was injured.
Yeah.
So you can't buy out injured players. So what he'll probably end up doing is they probably won't buy him out and just eat his cap for a year at this point, because I don't think they're taking any arbitration.
Honestly, I think it's the best thing to do.
Yeah.
At this point, he's not going to play.
Yeah, thanks for the question, D-White. Hope we answered that one.
We didn't really, but basically my answer is that I don't think it'll impact it too much. McDavid's too good of a player, 1. 2, he'll probably be playing with Lucic, and I don't think you fuck with McDavid while Lucic is on the ice. It's Semenko with more skill and probably just as mean.
He's Semenko with more skill and half the wits. And that's saying much.
Yeah. Well, no offense.
And for anyone
watching this, don't kill us.
Anyone that's like watching this and going like, "What is he talking about?" Watch some Lucic highlights where he acts like an idiot. It looks literally like he's lost his brain while he's doing it.
Possible. Adrenaline's a hell of a drug.
Anyway,
okay.
Moving on. Next topic is we have signed Puljujarvi, hooray, Benning, and Mr. Drake. Drake could. How do you pronounce his name? How do you pronounce his last name? Keguluya?
Kugluya, I think. Kugluya?
I should have.
Kugluya? I'm not. I heard it the other day on a highlight, and I couldn't remember how to pronounce it.
I can't remember either.
Okay. So we have a bunch of new signings, a bunch of essentially prospects for free, along with the pick. What do you guys see, I guess, in terms of how that could impact our lines and so on into the future? You can go by player, or we can do one for each player really quickly. What do you guys think?
I'll just run through them.
Okay. And Gustavsson also, 1 year, $800K.
I kind of forgot about Gustavsson.
He's our back.
Most of the league did too.
Yeah.
But did you forget about Trey?
Gustavsson, I feel like, is a bit of a risk. I thought that maybe Chad Johnson would have been a better signing. I'm not totally okay with that. I feel like they signed him to trade him, sort of. Like I feel like it's a 1 year deal, $800K. He's obviously not there for the long term. Whatever. I'm not a big fan of it, but whatever. And then with Benning, I don't really actually know a whole lot about Benning. I know he's a right-handed shot on the blue line, 6'1" or something like that. So he's got some decent size. I don't think he was ever drafted, which is surprising because he did kick ass last year. But yeah, right-handed shot, whatever, free prospect. And
I'd say stick it to Benning.
Yeah. Sorry?
I say stick it to Benning on that one.
Puljujarvi, I don't know that he should start with the Oilers, but he will. He will. And he'll get his 9 games minimum. And he'll probably play with the team this year. Unless someone comes in on a PTO, which I hope someone does. Like, fucking get Brad Boys in here, for God's sakes. Like, he can still play. Get him in here. I feel like Brad Boys just signed recently somewhere, though. I can't really remember.
I will find out.
Don't. Well, it's going to go away from the stream if you look.
No, we're good.
The last Kegula, he's pretty highly touted. I think he's a left wing, though, so he'll start in the AHL for sure. There's no way. I don't think he beats out any of Lucic, Pouliot, Maroon, or Hendricks. So he should start in the AHL. But I like it. I mean, free prospects.
Yeah. So Gustavsson, I just looked up his stats real quick. In 24 games in 15-16 with the Bruins, he had a 2.72 and a 9.08. Not particularly encouraging stats. Now, the biggest concern for me is the fact that he's like perpetually injured. Yes. He is in my mind
not the answer.
Well, the glass goalies of all glass backups. Like, if you want a backup that's going to get injured in his first game backing up,
you get Lander.
Your guy.
You get Leonard.
Well, Leonard, but Leonard's also a fantastic goddamn goalie when he's healthy. But I mean, like Lander's not really backup anymore.
Mm.
But I don't know. Like I kind of share the same feelings about picking up Johnson. Might have been a good idea. I know Enroth was probably already being pursued at a larger sum from Toronto, but it was just like there was a number of good potential goalies, and it seemed like we got the middle to low end of the spectrum on this one.
It's one thing to have holes. It's another thing to not plug holes with easy solutions.
It seemed like we plugged
Johnson,
it with a
Jonas
really
Enroth,
piece of wood.
Like you said,
I think we talked about this before.
Solutions.
We talked about this before, and I think the one thing that we ran into is that one of the bigger reasons that we ended up under our belief that we got Gustavsson was because we wanted something for only 1 year. And we were working into the assumption that no one else was willing to sign cheap, play in a backup role, and only sign for 1 year.
And the other benefit this side is that if Gustavsson is injured, it gives Brossoit time to come up. Otherwise, Brossoit gets to play 1 billion games in the AHL.
He's got to be better than he was last year.
Yeah. Well.
It's important to note on that one, though, that coaching staff has indicated whoever wins the backup role wins the backup role. So camp is going to decide. So if Gustavsson has a bad camp, well, our backup goal is going to be Brossoit.
Man, you didn't Scrivens also have a better camp, or no, never mind, it wasn't that way. But
okay, this is the problem that I have with Chiarelli, but it's something for another time, and I understand what you're saying. But I guess in this case, Chiarelli has given sort of like a quote unquote bias towards Brossoit, even though he had a unremarkable backup role close to the end of last season. I see it as a fair competition happening.
No, I wasn't going to say that. I meant in the sense that I was thinking about Scrivens last year, but it ended up being that I remember that actually he did lose out the job because it wasn't quite as good. They were both really good, but it wasn't quite as good. But moving on to Benning, it seems like he's a right-shot defensive player, which seems to be the similar type we're picking up. Like it's kind of getting to the point where like we have almost no offensive defenseman. We have Lalegia, but he played a lot of forward last year. So it's kind of, mind you, Larson supposedly has an offensive upside to him, so I guess we'll see that. But Benning, free prospect, I don't see why it's a bad thing. It's an extra contract, but we're still below the cap, so we're good on that. With Puljujarvi, they give him his 9 games. I think they'll probably see if he's at the level where they can keep him up, and if he's not, then they might send him back. Because the nice thing about Puljujarvi is he can go back to the AHL. He doesn't have to go back to OHL or whatever, so he can play at a high level. I think he gets his 9 games. He might get sent down, and it'll be a Dre situation where, it isn't working with whoever we have on the right wing, and they call him up. Drake, I think, has all the skills to be a solid NHL player, but we've seen with NCAA, a lot of NCAA players that are very promising can't make the transition to high-level hockey. It's just a different atmosphere with different players, a different scope and different level. And, from highly touted prospects like Lalegia and Schultz to Hobie Baker winners and, this guy, it'll be interesting to see if he can make the transition. But if he can, I think it might be a good third, even second line player at some point. And is that it?
Yeah, I'm just going to move on to the next one. My comments pretty much echo whatever you guys would say. The only thing I wanted to add in terms of that Benning comment is, yes, Benning is the nephew of Vancouver Canucks GM Benning. So that's why I was really happy he signed with us, just mostly to fuck with the Canucks.
Do you guys see that as nepotism? I know there was some comments going around the Reddit thread.
Who actually cares about that?
He
didn't. Went with whatever was the more promising thing. And in terms of Benning, he's looking at a roster that while filled with young defensemen, isn't filled with any kind of right-handed shots. So he's seeing an opportunity and he's jumping on it. And a 2-year ELC doesn't mean that he's going to stay with the Oilers forever, right? he can still be made into trade bait. He still can find opportunities with other teams. So in terms of a what's best for his future kind of move, if I were in his shoes, I would do the same thing, and it would not have been an easy decision for him.
And the way I see it, it was between the Canucks or us, and he chose us. And it was an ELC, like, who the fuck cares? It's literally no money for 2 years. It's no risk. It's a prospect, free prospect. Even if it was somehow marginally nepotism, this is the lowest level nepotism that I've ever seen.
Yeah.
Like the nephew of, or he used to be a draft pick of yours from forever. Oh, he's a good prospect, but I don't know. It's just nepotism doesn't fit in this role. If it was a management position that we had hired, Keith Gretzky is an interesting one you could call maybe nepotism. And maybe a weird hiring that I don't particularly like. Because I don't know if we discussed that on the last podcast.
We did not talk about that last podcast, and leads us perfectly to our next topic, and this wasn't in our list of topics, apologies, but the hiring of Keith Gretzky. So to give everyone context, Keith Gretzky has worked as the chief director of scouting?
For the Bruins.
For the Bruins, yeah.
And the Coyotes.
And the Coyotes. His track record is not
stellar.
Stellar. There is a video. I think one of his key videos that you can see of him is comments that he made during that led up to the Bruins trading Sagan to the Stars, essentially. But I would basically invite everyone to watch that video. It's not very difficult to find.
Horrifying. It's like a minute and a half of like, yeah, well, he's a really good player, but he's
always a step behind.
Well, and Keith, I think Keith's comment was that he doesn't fit the culture. In Boston, I think was his comment.
I hate that.
To add to that too, they commented on how he's always a step behind in his own zone. Which didn't make sense when he was above a point per game. On like how many people look at Ovi and go like, oh, he's not good enough in his own zone, so he's a bad player.
Yeah, fuck that. He scores 50 goals. I don't care.
Yeah, he's gonna go into the Hall of Fame. Like, there's no question about it. Even if he does or doesn't win a Stanley Cup.
It's just, it's just I don't know. It's that hiring does reek a bit of nepotism, and I really don't like it. It's just it's to me
it's all boys
club. Exactly, it feels like going back 4 years to hire your buddies because they'll make decisions easy.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't want to go back to that shit. I don't want to make decisions like I understand Paul had to be traded, but if we do something like, well, Nuge for Barrie makes sense because Nuge is a small centerman for the Western Conference. We don't really need him. We need a right shooting forward. I might actually go to Edmonton and murder somebody in the Oilers. FO. Like,
don't say that.
I mean, yeah. No, I'm saying of mine, I will never do that. But it's just,
of course,
it's hyperbole, but it's hyperbole to the point where it's like you could kind of see it happening because it's we've been over this before, and it's like it's Groundhog Day.
Yes.
It's
where have we seen this before? No.
It's like kind of like being a Bills fan. In the sense that it's not good. It feels like something's gonna go wrong.
It just feels like whatever we're gonna have, because I feel as though we're gonna have a much better team coming up in the next season or two, but I don't feel whatever success we find will be sustainable.
It's like it's one of those things where it's like I'm not confident in the fact that this success can stretch, even with McDavid and even with Puljujarvi and even with Talbot and Larson and Klefbom. I don't know if that success can extend 5 or 6 years because I don't know whether or not the management group can build around them well enough.
Okay. I guess in terms of other team decisions, this one's a little bit more of an open one, or more of a light topic. But the Oilers Octane team has been cut, and in its place they're adding, I believe it is Ice Girls. So what are your guys' opinions? And let's keep it clean.
Well, they're replacing the Octane team. I forget the name, but it's a multi-gender team, so males can be part of it. I just forget what the group is called. Octane was never really embraced by me personally. I always thought that cheerleaders were a bit forced and unnecessary at Oilers games. They didn't really get me stoked or excited. They were nice to look at, obviously, but I don't
Nothing
think I
added.
talked with them, or like they didn't really add anything to the game experience for me. I was certainly not there to see them. They did a lot of off-ice promotional stuff, but
Who were you there to see?
yeah, they weren't necessary. I was pretty okay with them being cut.
Adam?
I mean, I went to games as a 14-year-old and didn't even know they existed until I was 20. I never paid attention to them when they were at the rink. They would say something on the board and I go, oh, hey, look, cool. And then hockey, I was like,
I think they were only there for like 5 years total. So
yeah, I mean, they weren't ever really anything interesting to me.
No, they were never embraced.
And this is a big if we make the playoffs this season, do you think the Octane girls were the problem?
That's what it was.
Yes.
Or
Anyway,
drink.
in my opinion, I think it's very useful in circumstances. For example, if you go to the States, one thing if you notice, for example, if you look at media compared to the States versus Canada, much more, the women are much more, I don't know, sexualized almost in a way. Whereas, you look at the top broadcasters for like CBC, CTV, and so on that are female, their sexuality almost is not being used as a selling point. So on that point, pardon?
Well, have you ever seen an unattractive host on SportsCenter or Sportsnet?
Okay. Male? Have you seen many male unattractive hosts?
Yes.
That haven't formerly played hockey?
Yes.
Woohoo.
Bob McKenzie isn't exactly a looker anymore.
Oh, he is beautiful. That man.
Now, in fairness,
I will do anything for him.
Bob McKenzie also wins out. Now, but I mean, that's understandable, but what I'm saying is that it's not exclusive to the States.
Yeah.
But
it's much more subdued, let's say.
I think there was only 3 or 4 teams in NHL that had cheerleading teams, right?
Nope. A lot of the States teams have either ice girls or cheerleading teams.
No, but I'm talking cheerleading specifically. Like, what exactly do the ice girls do? Do they just scrape the ice?
They scrape the ice.
They don't even do that. Originally, what happened? They stopped doing this pretty quick. They would roll out like a carpet onto the ice during the intermissions, and they would do a dance routine on the ice during intermissions and stuff. And people are going up to get beer or use the bathroom or get food or whatever. No one really paid attention to them anyway.
So that got replaced by the bubble hockey and squirt hockey, and
I guess I don't know. I don't know, man. They
were bubble hockey,
like those guns that they put T-shirts in and fire them into the crowd and stuff. Like they did that sort of bullshit in between whistles, but you don't need Octane girls for that. Like, just hire some fucking Rexall.
I just want the Rexall drum guy back, to be honest. He made things fun.
Yeah, he wasn't there last year. That's right.
No. D. White adds, I live in the Pacific Northwest and go to many Portland Winterhawks games, and even there, the cheerleaders aren't embraced. It's nice to interact with, but they don't add anything to the experience. So I guess I might be totally off then. But that being said, it is important to note that it's not as if the eye candy, so to speak, is gone. There is sort of an eye candy in, even though it's advertised as not gender specific. I think it will be a little bit more gender specific, or I might be completely wrong in this. Who knows? We'll see how it plays out. Going on. Sorry.
Yeah. All right, move on.
Yeah. I was gonna say the funniest story I think I have with cheerleader related hockey is I went to 67's game, which is the junior team for the Sens, and they had cheerleaders that were 14 and 15-year-olds who were getting catcalled by the guys there. So that was creepy as hell. That is all hell.
Mm,
Fun story. Okay, moving on.
okay, no, let's not go into that.
Mhm.
Okay, so I guess we gotta pick up topics. One is forward lines as well as defensive pairings, or we can look at World Cup of Hockey. Mind you, the hockey season doesn't start until after, so any objections to looking at the World Cup of Hockey first
We've
and
got about
ending
10
on that
minutes,
point?
so I think so. Yeah, I'm good with that.
Sure.
Sure. Because close to the end of the podcast, mostly for D White, I guess, as well as whoever stuck around until the end, we will be talking about some plans and some changes that we have in mind for the podcast. So just giving everyone, I guess, a heads up. But first, World Cup of Hockey predictions. Oh, D White actually puts up a good topic. Do you think it's Yak's last year as an Oiler if he doesn't produce?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's fairly straightforward.
It's pretty much if he succeeds and he can play with someone other than just Connor, or he plays really well with Connor to the point where they just leave with him and he puts up 30 goals, then they might keep him on a cheap contract. He has no leverage to get him pay well.
Yeah.
So otherwise he's gone.
That's a loud cat.
Seriously.
Is he
My
hungry?
cat.
Aww.
This cat is alarmingly loud. Sorry.
Okay. Okay, back to World Cup of Hockey predictions. So we have a few teams: Team Europe, Team NA, Team USA, Team Canada, Team Sweden, Team Russia, and so on. Who do you see running away with it? Who might be a black horse? Who do you think is going to win each group? I can pull up the groups if you want to see that. And what are you guys' opinions on the whole thing? And I guess one more thing is, would you guys be watching it?
I'll watch it. The whole thing is a farce. It's a cash grab by the NHL. I hate it. I hate it so much. It's like them trying to give us international hockey best on best without the Olympics, and this is like they're playing just the tip with us. That's what it's like in my mind.
Yeah.
I don't like it, but I'll watch.
Yeah.
So Group A is Team Canada, Czech Republic, USA, and Europe. And then in Team B, it's Finland, Russia, Sweden, North America. So, I mean, Canada runs away. You can't, they have so much goddamn talent.
Well, I say Group A will be Canada and Group B will be Sweden.
No, it's easy. Team Canada has the best defenseman according to second best defenseman according to NHL 17. So it's pretty straightforward.
Those ratings are such a joke.
An absolute travesty.
Travesty.
Who was that again?
Shea Weber,
wasn't it?
Yeah. He's a 94 overall.
Oh boy.
For defenseman, he's the second highest on that game.
He's very, very, very good defenseman, but he's not second.
He's not. It basically puts him better than he was 3 years ago, and I do not agree with that.
No.
Anyway, so in my opinion, Canada runs away. It's gonna be Canada. Can Canada and Sweden meet in the finals? Yes, they can. So it'll be Canada and Sweden in the finals. I think it'll be North America versus Sweden in the semifinals for that group because, I mean, Finland is good and Russia's good, but the North American team has a fair bit of talent. And Czech Republic, Czech Republic, USA, and Team Europe are going to pose no threat at all to Team Canada. They're just going to fucking roll them. There's no way Canada doesn't win that group by a mile. So.
Okay.
But I hesitate to say it as confidently as Adam just said it, but I can't see anyone else winning that group either. Canada should handily win that group, even with their questionable decisions. I think, players like Jay Bouwmeester maybe don't have a place there, but
did he get in the team? No, he did get in the team.
Yeah, he did. He's a replacement.
He's a replacement. He's replacing Duncan Keith.
What?
Yeah.
Is Duncan Keith a left or a right?
I don't know. He's injured. That's what he is.
How do you not get PK Subban?
Because he's a left and doesn't fit into
doesn't
Babcock's right-left scheme. Well, and Taylor Hall got left off the team.
Yeah, so Jay Bouwmeester is replacing Duncan Keith, and that's a questionable decision. There's no other way to put it. Jamie Benn was replaced by Logan Couture. Even with those replacements, I mean, like, that's Logan Couture is fucking sick. So, like, I'm okay with that.
I just don't know why Taylor Hall's not there.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm just cycling down through the list here.
Okay, one thing that I did want to point out,
like, no way, no one's gonna beat us.
Is how quickly fans can turn on a player. When Taylor Hall was with us, everyone went, how come Taylor Hall wasn't picked within the subreddit, of course? It's a travesty, I tell you, and so on. And then I hear, what was it? Taylor Hall gets passed over again for a center, essentially. Everyone's like, oh, that makes sense in the subreddit. It stands out to me.
Opinions change. It's part of it. I think a lot of people still like him, but a lot of people are ready to move on. Change is necessary, but I'm very much agree with James in the fact that I think the World Cup hockey is a farce. And to be honest, I'm going to watch North America team because I want to watch McDavid and Eichel and Larkin because they're amazing together, and I want to watch Gibson, and I want to watch that. Like, I want to watch that team because it'll be fun to watch those kids try and do as well as they can.
They're my dark horse team. Like,
I just really hope
my dark horse
one of the Oilers players doesn't get injured.
Yes.
Dear Lord, I will stab somebody.
Please, no.
Probably my own heart.
Yeah.
It's just, I can't, like, if McDavid gets in, like, knocking on fucking wood, but, like that's one of the biggest, besides it being a farce and trying to get the NHL players away from the Olympics and not growing the game in the same way the Olympics would, and ignoring the fact that all the players want to go to the Olympics and that it's literally just a money-grabbing scheme.
Yes.
It's also a risk for players to get injured. There will be players injured. That's inevitable. Either they're going to be playing 4 games total or 4 to 5 games total plus playoffs. If there ever were a stupid time to get injured, it'd be right before the season starts.
It would be at this point where, they're just coming off of summer. They're going to be out of shape, asked to go from 0 to 100 right away. Like, I don't know.
Play for their country, of all things. Too.
Yeah, well, the other side of it I see, though, is that I guess the players that aren't going to be injured are going to be all warmed up for the season.
Yeah, that's
so
true.
If we have a McDavid that scores, a point a game and then comes into the NHL and goes, oh yeah, I feel like running the table this year, But it's for me, it's more of a concern. I'd rather have them come in and play slow for a couple of games as they adjust in the NHL than go to the World Cup of Hockey, bust their ass, and get injured and be out for a month. Because then that's adding to the amount of time they're going to be out and the amount of time they're going to be recovering. I just don't like the tournament. I'm going to watch it.
I hope. Honestly, I hope that there is some kind of injury, as much as I hate saying that, because I don't want to say that. These are people, and, this is their livelihood, and I don't want to say that. The other reason I don't want to say that is because I have a fear from saying that it's going to be an Oiler.
Sekera.
I feel it in my bones.
I have this terrible feeling. It's
going to be McDavid.
No, it's not.
Yes.
Nope.
Yes, it is.
No, it's not. It won't be, because he's too good. It's just I have just a terrible feeling that Sekera is going to block a shot or some shit, and he's going to be out for like 2 weeks. 2 or 3 weeks.
Like Adam said, I'm interested to see the North American team. I think perhaps maybe the only place where they don't quite stack up versus other countries is in net. But you only need one goalie. You don't need 6. You don't need 12. You need one goalie. And, John Gibson and or Matt Murray, provided he keeps up his form from the playoffs.
Don Hellebuck, too, is great.
I think the defense actually is a lot weaker than we think.
It is, but it's not...
Jones, Murray, Riley, Trouba, like, it's not bad.
Mm-hmm. That said, if you look at their center depth, like, is Larkin a centerman? No, right?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure he is. Yeah.
Okay, so they have Larkin, McDavid, Eichel, and Nuge. And then a bunch of extras like
Couturier,
like
McKinnon, Eichel, Matthews, Miller, Monahan, Scheifele.
It's just that's why I'm.
Fairness.
On one hand, it's awful. I hate the tournament, but that team is going to be so much fun to watch.
Yo, guys, but Austin Matthews though. And you know what? There's going to be a guy on that team that works harder than even Crosby. Okay, Jonathan Drouin.
Is Drouin on that team?
Yeah, he is. Drouin's on that team.
Oh shit, he is too. Oh.
T-Mac's also the coach. So there's that.
Oh, yeah,
T-Mac's the coach, yeah. So they're gonna make it to either the semis or at least the semis of the finals and then choke. I mean, what? Oh no, nothing. But like defensemen, it's just I think their weakest defenseman, honestly, is either Ghost Despair or Ryan Murray, and maybe Trouba, based upon how his last season went. But still, they've got Morgan Riley, they've got Seth Jones, they've got Ekblad, they've got. And my favorite defenseman right now in the league, Colton Parayko.
He had a hell of a season.
Yeah,
he did.
He had a hell of a playoff season. That just shocked me.
Yeah.
He went from because in the regular season he sort of flew under the radar, and the playoff season he went above the depth chart in some cases over. Who is considered to be one of the best defensemen that the St. Louis Blues have seen since Pronger.
Yeah, he was great. He kind of came out of nowhere. I didn't know who he was before last season, to be honest.
No one did.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, he was a rookie too. That didn't really kind of help his case.
Yeah.
Okay, I guess one thing to point out is that one of the teams that had a lot of, I would say, controversies around it. Was Team USA, and Team USA primarily for looking over some very critical players and going with essentially a weird lineup. Some players including Kessel was one that was overlooked. You guys can think of any others?
Van Riemsdyk, I think, was left off.
No, James Van Riemsdyk did make the team in the end.
Did he?
He did, yes. But yeah, pardon?
No, go ahead, sorry.
I guess that's my point. Do you guys see as that affecting their ability to do well in that group, or did you still consider them to be a potential to do well in that group?
I mean, the USA they're always not a bad team, but they've been underperforming the last few years, and I think wasn't Kane also replaced? Evander Kane was replaced lately.
Evander Kane, Canadian.
I thought he was American.
No.
90% sure he was American. I thought he was from Buffalo.
Evander Kane is Canadian.
Was it Ryan O'Reilly?
I'll bet you a testicle that he's Canadian.
Was it Ryan O'Reilly that he was Ryan O'Reilly replaced?
Ryan
O'Reilly. I feel like
Ryan O'Reilly. I feel like he's Canadian, isn't he?
No, he's Canadian. He's Canadian.
What the fuck? Really?
Yeah.
Ryan Callahan was replaced by Kyle Palmieri.
Yeah, Ryan Callahan. What are you on right now? Ryan O'Reilly's Canadian. I mean, he crashed into Tim Hortons one summer. How Canadian is that?
There's Tim Hortons Buffalo, thank you.
Yeah, that's practically Canada.
Well, so is Patrick Kane technically Canadian?
No, he sleeps with too many women to be Canadian. Too many ugly women to be Canadian.
Have you met hockey players from Canada before?
Yeah.
Publicly.
I don't know, man. Kessel is the one big snub that I can think of for the Americans. I can't think of any others. I don't know why.
I didn't really pay attention to their team too much. But who's their goalie?
It's the goalie situation is quite good. It's Schneider, Quick, and Bishop.
Right. Schneider and Bishop for me above Quick, but those are, I mean, two of the best goalies in the league, and Quick's not exactly a scrub. All right, so do we want to kind of gloss over our changes?
Oh, Justin Falk is also missing from this roster. Falk.
Yeah, how? How does that work?
Pardon?
I'm just wondering how they left him off.
Tyler Johnson, Kyle
Okposo, yeah. After the season that Okposo had,
Bobby Ryan, Kevin Shattenkirk, Keith Yandel.
Bobby Ryan, right. Holy cow. Okay, yeah, we missed a few. A lot of former Tortorella players are in this roster. Dubinsky, Ryan Callahan, Jack Johnson, Derek Stefan, Ryan McDonough.
I mean, they're all good players, but...
We're reading the same CBS article, aren't we?
Yes, we are. What CBS? What? We did our research now. What are you guys talking about?
Anyway, so... It's if we're all done chit-chatting here, we have a bit of updates that we're going to be doing, or changes over the next little bit, that involve the podcast in general. The most notable of which, we're changing the name of the podcast to the Oil Drop Podcast and Edmonton Oilers podcast, or something of that sort. The Oil Drop and Edmonton Oilers podcast. More so, not to detract from the fact that we don't like. It's not to say that we don't like being on Reddit. We don't like. We're obviously from Reddit. That's how we met. That's how we talk to people. We post our threads there. I comment there every day. I know people. I met people in real life. I met those two in real life from it. I've met other people, Harfnarf and Cozy and
Cozy. Cozy's a treat if you guys ever anyone gets to meet him. Person.
So it's not that we don't like the subreddits, that we feel the name is clunky and that it doesn't feel like a podcast name that we should have. We do prefer the Oil Drop. It is much better suited to our tastes, and so we're going to move forward with that. With that, we're also going to put up a website in the next, I think, 2 to 3 weeks. We're going to be working on whether or not we're going to have somebody build it for us or we're going to build it ourselves. Mm-hmm. That's up for decision yet, but at the same time, we're also going to be trying to get our podcast on iTunes. We've been saying that for a while, but we are going to get somebody to
help. This is much faster,
build an RSS feed, and we can do that through the website as well, and then put it on iTunes. And then once it gets approved, that'll be golden. As it is right now, I'm working on uploading all the archive files back, so we're completely updating all the audios. And last but not least, we're getting a consistent, normalized release schedule. Long forms are going to be every second Sunday. Time will be between about 1 to 4 o'clock Mountain Standard Time. That might change depending on what's going on in the fall, but as of right now, Sundays, every second Sunday is a long form, and then we want to do weekly videos where we do short reactions, no more than 10 minutes, to current NHL news, past game reactions, stuff like that. Mm-hmm. We might be doing something else with the subreddit. I'm not sure yet. I'm still talking to the mods about that. If NVEG, if you have watched this, sent you the message earlier, so we'll see what happens with that. But
yep.
Just so you guys know, if we're not on the subreddit for whatever reason, follow us on Twitter, follow us, I think we might make a Facebook page, so follow us on Facebook. We're still going to be posting videos on YouTube.
Like, comment, subscribe.
Every second week we're going to be posting YouTube videos. We're going to try it. We're concerned that if we change the name, that it doesn't accurately represent that we're part of the subreddit or that we were formed on the subreddit, so we don't know if it will go against Reddit's blog spam policy. An obvious concern of ours. So, and we don't want to intrude. That'd be the last thing we want to do. So, name change, weekly videos, normalized schedule, iTunes, and website. That's pretty much it, but it's quite a bit to do in the next little bit. I think I covered everything. Anything you guys want to add?
No, you sort of
nailed everything.
Covered all of the important parts. Yeah, I don't really know of anything that was missing.
I guess sort of not necessarily it's not an official statement in a kind of way. I may be a little bit more scarce coming forward. I am the only one in this group that is returning to school, and on top of that, I might be busy with medical school applications, interviews, and that so weekends may be busy for me as well. In terms of, if anyone has any questions on why I don't show up or anything like that, I'm not gone. It's just context. Anyway, the
I
website,
was gonna say-
D-White, the website isn't up yet. We're actually in the process of getting someone either hired or figuring out a way to do the website. But into the future, I guess, James, do you know what was the website address?
I think it was oildroppodcast.com. I think
Oil
we were looking at, or .ca
.ca,
is
yeah.
what we were looking at.
Right now,
yeah.
it'll send you to a dead link.
Yeah. So, well, and the other thing we should note is that we are looking for people we've had in the past, new people to come on and join us as guests. We're always looking for guests, but it might be where we look for people on a more consistent basis for our regular videos, where we have you come join us every once in a while to help us with our regular videos in terms of the weekly stuff. If you're all interested, anybody watching this, send us a message. We might look into it a little more. We don't necessarily want to take anybody, but we're pretty lenient, I think.
Yeah.
So.
James, did you want to add anything at all?
No, I was going to bring up the point of more guests on the show, but Adam did bring that up. Just, if you want to be a guest on the show, non-negotiable is video, so you cannot be audio only.
Unless you're a major individual,
unless you're
like Bob McKenzie or something like that.
Unless you're Bob
say,
McKenzie.
Tom, I would have taken Tom Gozzola with no video.
And
the better video than us.
No kidding.
Yeah, have a good internet connection.
Yes,
preferably. Yeah, that'd be kind of nice. It's hard, I know, and it's pain in the ass. We also have had our connection issues, but I think we've been better lately. But anyway,
we hopefully our more consistent videos and whatnot will come out very soon. TM, but just keep an eye out for that. And I guess on that point, we are at an hour and nearly 12 minutes now, so let's wrap up. So just as a quick summary of topics we talked about today, we mentioned the Clefbaum comments, Scriven's comments, Hall's comments, who might be the next captain, the new signings, both ones for the offseason, the smaller ones, as well as the signings that happened since we last chatted, as well as World Cup of Hockey and what might happen if Yakupov doesn't produce another year. Anyway, this has been Arunatic 5, otherwise known as Arun.
Adam, otherwise known as Sweet44722.
And I'm James Paul-McCartney-.
Thank you for joining us.
Yeah. And we will see you soon enough.
Couple of weeks.